Hi everybody, my name is Lafia and I'm the CEO and co-founder of ReachConnect.com. And so as this page has been growing, I've been getting some questions from some community members, folks that are seeking to be a part of this faith, and others who are a part of this faith that just, wanted to get my position and clarity on some things. And something that's been repeating are questions about whether or not to stay with their godparents. So I just want to preface this by saying you should always go with your gut. Okay, so if you have some feel like you should stay with your godparents if they're fulfilling their duties as your godparents, being your guides, being your chaperones in if you're a part of the Lukumi and Santero communities, they are your chaperones into the community, into spiritual spaces. They're doing all those things and you are happy, cool. If you are not happy, you need to feel empowered enough to ask your godparents questions, and you also need to feel empowered enough to leave them. It's like having godparents for, the duration of your life is wonderful. When you find that fit, it's a beautiful, sacred thing to have a godparent that is your guide and is someone that you can rely on. But don't feel obligated to stay with a godparent if you do not feel comfortable, if the relationship changes in a negative way. You've got to treat having godparents like dating. You ask questions, you do emotional audits, you do emotional check-ins to make sure that that relationship is mutually beneficial. So if it's not mutually beneficial anymore, consider separating. And it doesn't mean that the separation has to be, an angry one or one that has a lot of bad energy. Sometimes you separate because your godparent is too far away. There are some folks whose godparents are thousands of miles away. And so having someone closer by just makes better sense for them. So don't feel obligated to stay with a particular godparent or godparents, and also don't feel obligated to stay with an Ela that you don't want to be a part of anymore, or finding other spaces, because it's about finding where you fit. And if you no longer fit in a place, then you should move on. Don't feel bullied and don't feel pressured and manipulated to stay in relationships, working, spiritual or otherwise, that don't serve you, are not mutually beneficial. So I had someone talk to me about a situation where their godparent told them that they couldn't speak to anyone else in the community, which was really strange to me, because that your godparent is supposed to be your chaperone to the community. So you're supposed to be isolated because that godparent is not introducing you to the community. That's weird. So, just a bunch of crazy stuff. And then because of the amount of money that is spent on ritual all the time, you will find that sometimes there are folks out there that make you feel obligated to stay with them. And it's part of their income. And I know a lot of people don't want to talk about that or admit that, but that's also an issue. There are folks out there that are being manipulated to stay in these spiritual relationships because of the consistency of income. Okay? So listen to the manifestation of Orisha in yourself. If something doesn't feel right, if something doesn't seem right, don't do it. And feel empowered to ask questions. I can't emphasize that enough. If your godparents are telling you that you don't need to know, especially if it's a situation where it makes sense to ask for you because it's something that's going to directly affect you, your godparents should be people that you feel comfortable enough to approach. It's almost like having a manager at work. The best managers are ones that are open, that answer questions, that set parameters. Like, these are the kinds of things that you should also be seeking out in your godparents. Okay? So don't stay where you're not wanted. It doesn't do you any favors. It doesn't do them any favors either. And you want to be in a situation where you feel comfortable, where you feel supported, where you feel like your spiritual needs are being met. All right, everybody. That's all we have for today, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.